All right, let's talk about something that trips up so many people learning English, especially if you're coming from Spanish: the present simple. Sounds easy, right? Well, it's packed with little traps. We're going to dive in and sort it out once and for all.
So let's just get right to the heart of the problem. You hear the name present simple and you immediately think now, right? It's got to be about what's happening this very second. But is that what it's really all about?
And the answer? Almost never. Seriously. For things happening right now, we've got a whole other tense for that: the present continuous. And this right here is probably the number one reason people get confused. The name itself is kind of misleading.
Okay, so if it's not really about now, then what on earth is it for? This next part is probably the most important shift in thinking you need to make. We have to stop thinking about the present moment and start thinking about, well, permanence.
So, here's a much better way to think about it. The present simple is for talking about stable, consistent realities. Think of it as the generally true tense. It's for stuff that's always true, usually true, or happens on a regular schedule. It's how we describe the basic facts of our lives and the world around us.
So, what does that actually look like? Well, we use it for our daily routines and habits. I wake up at 7 a.m. We use it for scientific facts and universal truths, things like water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It's also for stable things like our jobs or identities. She works as a doctor. And, this one might surprise you, we even use it for fixed future plans, like the train leaves at 8 p.m. See the pattern? All of these describe something stable and predictable. All right, so we've got the when. Now let's tackle the how. And the first big challenge, especially for Spanish speakers, is what to do with action verbs and that tiny but oh so important little s.
Okay, just take a look at this. If you speak Spanish, you're used to juggling a bunch of different verb endings for every person. It's a lot to remember. But look at English, it's so much simpler. The verb basically stays the same. I speak, you speak, we speak, they speak. There's just one little catch, one big trap you have to watch out for: the third person singular. For he, she, and it, you just pop that S on the end. That's it. That's the only change you really need to memorize. Of course, it's not always as simple as just slapping an S on the end. There are a few spelling rules to keep in mind. But here's the cool thing: they're not random. They're actually there to make the words easier to say. Like if a verb ends in a hissing sound, like watch or miss, adding just an S would be really awkward. So we add ES to make a new syllable: watches, misses. Make sense, right? And for verbs ending in a consonant plus Y, like study, we change it to IES. It just flows better. Spelling often follows the sound. Okay, on to the next big piece of the puzzle. This is a concept that's really different from Spanish, and it's super important. We're talking about helper verbs, or auxiliary verbs. And for the present simple, our go-to helpers are do and does. So, how do you remember when to use them? I love this little analogy. Think of it as a boss and helper relationship. The main verb, like work or eat or play, that's the boss. It's got all the important meaning. But when you need to make a sentence negative or ask a question, the helper, do or does, shows up to do all the hard grammatical work. And here's the key: the helper carries that tricky S for he, she, and it. That means the boss verb can just relax and stay in its original simple form. Let's actually see how this works. Look at a negative sentence. She doesn't work. See that? The helper doesn't is carrying the S. So the boss verb, work, is just in its base form. No S needed. Same thing for a question. Does he speak Spanish? Does the work, so speak stays simple. And of course, if the subject is they, we just use don't because there's no S to worry about. Once that helper verb is in the sentence, the main verb never gets an S. That's a golden rule. Now, you know how it is in English. For every nice, clean rule, there's always that one big exception. And in the present simple, that exception is a huge one. It's the most common verb of all, the verb to be. This verb is a rebel. It plays by its own rules. And this right here is so important to get. You have to think of two completely separate systems. On one side, you have all the normal action verbs. They need do or does to help them out. He doesn't play. Do you play? But on the other side, you have to be. It's independent. It's strong. It is its own helper. You will never hear he doesn't be or do you be. No way. It handles its own business. He isn't here. Are you here? Two totally different worlds. So when do we actually use this special verb? Well, for all the fundamental states of being. We use it for identification, who you are,
I am a teacher. We use it for age. She is 30. For feelings, they are happy. For location, the book is on the table. And for time and dates, it is Monday. Notice that none of these are really actions. They're all about describing a state, which is why to be is so unique. Okay, we've covered the rules, we know the when and the how. Now it's time to put it all into practice and really master this thing by looking at the most common mistakes Spanish speakers make. This is where the real learning happens, avoiding those common traps.
All right, common trap number 1, talking about your age. In Spanish, you use the verb tener, tengo 25 años, which translates literally to I have 25 years. It makes perfect sense in Spanish, but in English, we think of age as a state of being, not a possession. So we always use the verb to be. It's I am 25 or I am 25 years old. Never, ever I have.
And here's trap number 2, and it's a big one, the missing subject. In Spanish, it's totally normal to say está lloviendo because the verb itself tells you who or what is doing the action. But English is different. It's a rule that just can't be broken. Every single sentence needs a subject, always. So you can't just say is raining. You have to give it a subject. It is raining. And finally, trap number 3, talking about agreement. Again, the Spanish estoy de acuerdo makes you want to translate it directly to I am agree because you're describing a state. But in English, agree is an adjective. It's an action verb. It's something you do. So you treat it just like any other action verb in the present simple. You just say, I agree. Simple as that. Just like I work or I speak.
So, as we bring this all together, I want you to think about this in a bigger way. The present simple isn't just a boring grammar rule you have to memorize. It's way more important than that. It's the very structure we use to define ourselves, our habits, and the world around us. It's the language of facts and reality. So with that in mind, I want to leave you with a little challenge. Right now, just think about your own daily routine, what you do every day. Can you describe it? Maybe even say it out loud using all these rules we just talked about? Go ahead, give it a try, because that's how you take this from just listening to actually making it a part of your English. Thanks for joining me.